President Trump's first day in office as he attends a national prayer service. And he gets right to work, issuing a slew of executive orders and actions, what they include, plus
approximately 1,500 for a pardon. Yes. Full pardon.
With another stroke of the pen, Trump pardons the January 6th defendants. And
I, Marco Rubio.
I, Marco Rubio.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
Trump's first cabinet nominee sworn in. Senator Rubio, now Secretary of State Rubio. Where things stand for the rest of Trump's cabinet nominees. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Major changes already rolling in as Donald Trump kicks off his second term. Good evening and welcome to Faith Nation. In Washington, I'm Tara Mergener. President Donald Trump kicks off his return to the White House with a blitz of executive actions erasing Biden-era policies and making good on campaign promises. Meeting with Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill, he's hashing out plans for implementing his agenda. Top of the list, immigration, issuing a slew of orders to increase border security. The president also declaring an end to birthright citizenship.
We think we have good grounds, but you could be right. I mean, you'll find out. It's ridiculous. We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know.
The move already facing legal pushback from more than a dozen states. Trump also withdrew the U.S. from the Paris Climate Accord and the World Health Organization. Additionally, he rescinded dozens of Biden-era directives, including diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and federal recognition of transgender identity. Also, in his first 24 hours, Trump pardoned more than 1,500 of his supporters who rioted at the Capitol in 2021, including some who attacked police. Trump is showing no signs of stopping to push through his agenda. CBN senior White House correspondent Kelly Wright joins us now for more. Kelly, President Trump issued many executive orders to deal with immigration and border security, declaring a state of emergency along the border. What more can you tell us about those orders?
Tara, the main thing I can tell you is that he's been very aggressive, moving fast and furiously to push forth his agenda. 24 hours. What a difference a day makes. And this president has already unleashed a number of executive orders to deal with border security, declaring that the United States has a national state of emergency along the border. And with that, he's provided some sweeping changes to make sure that people remain in Mexico before coming to this country to even have an asylum hearing. That's a dramatic change. You talked about at the top of the hour, ending birthright citizenship. He is definitely going to be challenged on that issue from civil rights groups. And then he gave notice to drug cartels known for human trafficking as well as trafficking drugs. He put them on notice that they are now deemed as terrorists. Watch what he had to say as he signed that executive order into action in the Oval Office.
That's a big one.
Yes, sir.
People have wanted to do this for years. So they are now designated as terrorist organizations, foreign. And Mexico probably doesn't want that. But we have to do what's right. They're killing our people. They're killing 250, 300,000 American people a year.
And Kelly, the president followed through on another campaign promise as well. He delivered pardons and commutations for January 6th prisoners. How is that being received?
Well, it comes as no surprise to his supporters. In fact, I've even interviewed a J6er who was in prison, and his response is that he's elated that the president has deemed to pardon all of them with commutations as well. But the president is receiving a lot of pushback from various senators and members of Congress on the House side as well, on Republican and Democrat sides, for the fact that he's pushed forth this pardon of people who were even known for assaulting police officers and Capitol Hill Police. But the president moving forward with that and having a lot to say about it as he signed that executive order into action, going so far as to do what he did along the campaign trail, calling those J6 prisoners not prisoners, but hostages.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
Yes.
Full pardon.
Full pardon or commutations?
Full pardon. We have about 6 commutations in there where we're doing further research.
Wow. Well, President Trump also signed an executive order to keep TikTok operating for 75 days. How does he propose to save the social media platform now?
On this matter, it looks like the president is actually going back to his business mind, actually taking a page from his book, The Art of the Deal, a successful book for him that talked about how he does deal making. He's actually trying to put himself in a position to do a deal with TikTok, saying that TikTok has gathered or become a soft part of his heart because of the way that so many young people voted for him through TikTok. He feels an affinity towards that. He wants to salvage it.
TikTok is worthless. Worthless. If I don't approve it, it has to close. I learned that from the people that own it. If I don't do the deal, it's worthless, worth nothing. If I do the deal, it's worth maybe $1 trillion, $1 trillion. So if I do the deal I'm talking about doing it for the United States. If I do the deal for the United States, then I think we should get half.
And for more, let's bring in CBN News Chief Political Analyst David Brody. David, welcome. Trump is not wasting any time. So what stands out to you most in his first 24 hours or so in office? So much going on.
Well, that's right. And really, that's the point, Tara, all along. This is like a MAGA candy factory. It's like if you're a MAGA person in the MAGA movement, it's like all these executive orders are like Skittles or Starburst or Twizzlers. Take your pick in the candy store. Hard to really narrow it down, quite frankly. It's just been such a flurry of activity. Having said that, I think what really stands out to me the most is the fact that he would go to Capital One Arena in front of 20,000 or so MAGA faithful and sign executive orders in public on stage. That has such a we the people ring to it. And beyond all of that, then he would take the pens that he signed those executive orders with, which are commemorative. They're pens that mean something. They're typically given to lawmakers or given to dignitaries. Now he said, forget that. I'm going to throw them into the crowd. Here, it's like Oprah. You get a pen. You get a pen. You get a pen. And just to do that just shows you how unique and different Donald Trump is. And he really does resonate with the American people.
Absolutely. And President Trump pardoned, by the way, some 1,500 January 6ers, as you know. That's controversial. We also saw President Biden pardon a number of his family members on his way out yesterday. What say you about those moves?
Well, controversial versus controversial. It may be a wash. Actually, it may be a problem for Biden regarding his legacy. I mean, this has never been done before in terms of the pardons before anybody's committed a crime. So you have to think that may even trump, so to speak, I guess pun intended, what happened on January 6th. And what I mean by that specifically is, let's remember, I mean, Donald Trump has a mandate. 77 million people voted for him. So this idea that he's pardoning the folks on January 6th, look, the American people have spoken. There are a lot of people that were obviously very upset about what happened on January 6th, but 77 million people still voted for him anyhow. And so this idea that he's going to pardon 1,500 or so, pretty much the bulk, if not all, almost all, of the J6ers, makes perfect sense. And remember, Tara, something very important here. These J6ers have lost a lot. They've lost relatives, when I'm talking about in terms of relationships. They've lost marriages. Financially, this has been really hard on them in terms of putting them in bankruptcy. There's a lot of things. So there's a lot of things here. Have they paid a cost? Yeah, they have. They paid a price for sure.
Let's talk about Marco Rubio. He was sworn in as the first member of the cabinet. He'll be Secretary of State, of course. What can we expect from him in that role, and where does Hegseth's nomination stand now?
Well, Rubio, it's this. Here you go, Terry. Here's a visual. Yes, sir. He's going to carry it out. He's going to carry out the Trump mantra, which is interesting for Rubio because, Marco Rubio back in the day was a little bit more of that traditionalist, if you will, a little bit more of the Reagan conservative. Now he's kind of turning into a a populist to a degree, whether it be on trade and some other issues. So we'll see about Marco Rubio, but clearly being confirmed 99-0 is smooth sailing for him. There's no doubt about it, and he's a star, obviously. As for Hegseth, well, at some point he was going to be potentially confirmed, or at least the vote for confirmation was going to be in the next day or two, maybe over the weekend. That may be held up with some new allegations by his sister-in-law that has come to light. So this is I'll let you know when I know.
Yeah.
Because this just seems like it may be taking a soap opera turn yet again.
Lots of moving parts, David. Thanks for your insights as always.
You bet.
And one of President Trump's most reliable allies in Congress on the hot seat today. Republican Congresswoman Alise Stefanic is nominated for UN ambassador. Appearing before the Senate Relations Committee, Stefanic vowed to champion Trump's America First policies, emphasizing her commitment to ensuring U.S. investments in UN agencies align with American interests and security.
I share President Trump's vision of a UN reformed by strong America First, peace through strength, and a return to this founding mission of promoting peace and security around the world.
And the Congresswoman also criticized the UN's handling of Israel, pointing to recent resolutions condemning the country and its conflict in Gaza. And this morning, President Trump, Vice President Vance, congressional leaders, and other government officials attended an interfaith service at the National Cathedral. The inaugural tradition typically focuses on a new administration, but this year's service made unity the central theme. Reverend Marion Buddy delivered the sermon, calling for the unity that serves the common good. She also challenged the president's policies, asking him to show mercy to LGBTQ people and immigrants.
Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now.
The service featured prayers and readings from a variety of faiths. Because of security concerns, it was closed to the public. Well, coming up, Trump's new executive order takes a hard stance on gender identity, what it means for federal policies and diversity efforts, next. And welcome back. President Trump wasted no time signing an executive order that defines gender strictly as male and female based on reproductive function. According to the order, federal agencies can no longer promote, quote, gender ideology. It also means Americans can only select male or female on official government documents like passports and visas. In addition, federal departments that run prisons, migrant shelters, and rape shelters must promote single-sex spaces for privacy. The order does not issue a nationwide mandate on which bathrooms transgender people can use or which sports competitions they can join. The move dismantles efforts by the Biden administration to be more inclusive of LGBTQ issues. And Sarah Parshall-Perry joins us now. She is a legal fellow for the Edwin Meese Center at the Heritage Foundation. Sarah, what kind of symbolic and policy victory for opponents of gender-affirming care does this represent?
I would say it is nothing short of a much-needed miracle. We've seen a whole-of-government approach to gender ideology starting on day one of the previous administration under President Biden when he issued an executive order expanding the definition of sex unilaterally in all federal laws and regulations to be interpreted in such a way to include gender identity or expression. That wrought quite a bit of damage, both through housing and urban development, through the Department of Justice, through HHS and Department of Education. And what this administration now has done is say that they are putting an end to this madness. They are taking back the safety of women and girls. They are protecting the biological developments of normal pubertal children. And they are also reinstating official documentation, whereas the Biden administration said you could indicate your sex was X, a non-binary marker on official documents like a passport. That, too, is now rescinded. So I don't think it is anything quite like an overstatement to say that this was indeed a much-needed miracle.
What do you think the most obvious immediate impact of the executive order on federal policy, since federal agencies will now be required to recognize only two biological sexes?
Yeah, probably the Department of Education. We have been following very closely all the litigation over Title IX, the Education Amendments of 1972. That's the simple anti-discrimination law in federally funded education based solely on sex. The expansion to include gender identity, as you can imagine, through bathrooms, locker rooms, dorm rooms, and sports into absolute chaos. So that is certain to be the first of the challenges. Remember that the Biden administration's already published this rule, and it went into effect in 25 states in August of last year. But now we're seeing 25 other states bring legal challenges against this. So we have a bit of a sort of game of whack-a-mole between an old, illegal, but still enforced in half the country rule, and now a new executive order going back to square one on biological reality. So there will definitely be a showdown, very likely probably destined for the Supreme Court.
And how do you think doctors and hospitals that currently perform gender-affirming surgeries or provide the related treatments will be forced to respond? Will they have to stop offering this service, like as of right now, these services?
No, they're not required to immediately stop offering the service, but for anyone, any hospital, clinician, provider who accepts so much as $1 of federal funding, and remember, that's Medicaid, Medicare, and the Affordable Care Act, what's known as Obamacare, any of those dollars cannot now be used for gender-affirming treatments. That will make these procedures a lot less lucrative. If people can pay for them out of pocket or with private insurers who don't actually restrict these procedures, and the expansion of gender identity, that will be the only way to afford it. But I am really hoping that what this does is give clinicians, hospitals, and doctors the very, I think, much needed hard second look on whether or not they can afford to even do this kind of quackery going on.
And certainly you're expecting a lot of legal challenges. We are out of time, but quickly, yes or no, are you expecting a barrage of legal implications now?
100%. We've already seen groups like the ACLU and the Human Rights Campaign claim that they're going to fight this particular executive order. It will certainly end up in court, but wherever it's brought to court, I have every reason to believe Trump will be victorious.
Big challenges and changes coming. Sarah Parshall-Perry with the Heritage Foundation, thank you so much. Up next, Israel's top general resigns and the nation holds its breath as it prepares to welcome more hostages home right after this. And welcome back. A major shakeup in Israel. The nation's top military general announcing his resignation over security failures that led to Hamas's October 7th massacre. It comes on the heels of a fragile ceasefire in Gaza, 15 months of war, and the release of more hostages.
I bear responsibility for the IDF's failure. I also have responsibility for the achievements. I wish we had not been required to achieve these achievements, and no achievement will undo the immense pain, sorrow, and loss that has been caused since the day the war began.
He will officially step down on March 6th. In the meantime, Israel has launched a new counter-terror campaign in the West Bank city of Jenin. Palestinian media say at least 10 people were killed. The operation is expected to last several days. A tangible sign of the U.S.-Israel friendship on display in Southern California, thanks to the help of a special team of Israeli firefighters. As the wildfires started tearing through the city, the Israeli consulate in Los Angeles spearheaded an effort to bring in their experts. CBN's Paul Petit has the story.
Some 14,000 firefighters have teamed up to help combat what could be the costliest natural disaster in U.S. history. They include a team from Israel.
We drove in those neighborhoods. There's nothing there.
This team of 13 firefighters see their contribution as a way to give back.
You guys are always stood and stand next to Israel, behind Israel, and now it's the time for Israel to come and stand behind the United States.
Lashea Moore is Israel's operation officer. After touring the damage, she compared it to Gaza and hopes her team can share best practices to ensure a fire of this magnitude never happens again.
And I look at it and I said, oh my God, we must stop it. We must do everything to come to support and to help you, because we cannot let it go like this. We must save our places, our home, our land.
This group is not just firefighters, they're fire experts. Dr. Shay Levy wrote a book on wildfires and researches embers.
Sometimes you're with the crews, the fire crews, and you can't see it because of the smoke, and you focus on the fire, and suddenly the fire starts in another area.
The relationship between California and Israel firefighters began in 2010, when then California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger sent a contingency of California firefighters to Israel to help battle the Carmel fires there.
And we're talking to them and learning how that they manage incidents over there, and we're embedding them, and it's a learning process. All of us can learn from each other as we have different dynamics and incidents in what we do.
It just so happens the fires broke out January 7th, exactly 15 months after Hamas attacked Israel. Somehow, both events are now serving to bring these two allies closer together.
Now, right now, this our time and this our turn to come and to support you at your tough times.
In Los Angeles, Paul Petit, CBN News.
And tonight, as high winds and low humidity threaten to ignite even more fires in Southern California, CBN's Operation Blessing is on the ground. To find out how you can help wildfire victims, go to ob.org. Coming up, a dramatic river rescue gone viral. That's next on Faith Nation. Finally, tonight, a drowning dog is reunited with her owner, all thanks to the kindness and bravery of a stranger. It was the last thing on his mind as Chris McRitchie was waiting in line for his morning coffee. His son pointed to a dog in the nearby frozen river. McRitchie did not think twice. He jumped out of the car and straight into that icy water, wading to the dog and carrying her to shore. He called the number on her collar, and thankfully, the owner picked up, immediately expressing her gratitude.
It's brave, it's selfless, it's commendable. Sometimes it feels like that's very rare these days.
So brave. The dog was named Arizona and was reunited with that owner. Both McRitchie and Arizona are fully recovered. Thank goodness. And that is going to do it for Faith Nation. We will see you tomorrow.